Medicine. We bring you educational sessions every week that are backed by science and research to showcase efficacy of natural therapies. In our educational session today, we are going to talk about natural remedies for diabetes. Presenting this topic, we have Jackie Walburn, who is a paleo and keto specialist. She is also author of a book called Heal Thyself Naturally. Jackie was diagnosed with asthma, allergy, and arthritis at the age of 12. And by the time she turned 50, she had 15 medical conditions. She has been able to reverse all of them with success. Such an incredible story, Jackie, and welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So honored to be here. And yes, I mean, I was just talking to my brother the other night about how when I started my journey, I basically had about 5 years to live, and that was 5 years ago.
Oh my God.
So yes, I am just like every day is a blessing at this point, and I just got to get it out to the world, got to share so that everybody knows, you know, your diagnosis is not your destiny. It's just a label put on you, and you don't have to believe it. You don't have to own it, and you can do things to take control of your health and actually get back all your life and vitality and energy and everything else just by doing some simple tricks, simple hacks to regain your health.
I love the way you say hacks. So let's go to our main topic. So let's start with the insulin resistance.
Yes. Now, many people don't realize that a lot of the things that they're not really paying attention to in their body, trying to communicate to them that something is out of balance. A lot of the symptoms here are very obvious things that you can go, oh, wow, yeah, I do have that problem. And not anybody has never told you what it actually is or what's causing it. So yes, if you're trying to lose weight and it just won't come off, if you find yourself craving sweet, sugary foods all the time, and if you're having after you eat a meal, you feel like you need a nap. These are all different signs. If you're tired all the time, that is your symptoms of insulin resistance. And then as far as your laboratory work goes, if you have high cholesterol, high triglycerides, if you have low thyroid levels, as far as TSH, T3, T4, which again is going to be signifying that you have insulin resistance. So it's really important to understand your labs. It's important to listen to your body and to actually pay attention to what your body's trying to tell you so that you can actually do something about it and not just stock it up to I'm getting older and whatever, because there is no such thing. There is no natural aging process for all humans. So don't let them discard your concerns at your regular doctor with what could actually be insulin resistance.
Great. So let's go over the different type of diabetes.
Yeah, most people have not heard of all the different types. So basically, most people have heard of, oh yeah, type 1, that's the autoimmune condition. But there is also something called late onset adult diabetes autoimmunity, where actually you, after years of having type 2 diabetes, your pancreas starts to fail in producing any insulin, and you actually become a late onset type 1 diabetic. And so it's important for people to recognize that if you just let your type 2 diabetes just keep going and you just keep feeding it medication, it actually can turn into the autoimmune condition to where you are insulin required for the rest of your life. And again, it is reversible, at least the late onset diabetes. Before you get there, you can actually do something about preventing that stage. And then the one that most people are familiar with is type 2, but we've always considered type 2 to be a late onset for adults, something that happens later in life. But now children are showing up with it because of our food supply and our diet and our behaviors, and toxin levels have just now pushed type 2 diabetes is showing up more and more frequently in children, which is very sad. There is also maturity onset diabetes of the young. That's the one I was just mentioning. There's gestational diabetes that happens in pregnancy that sometimes doesn't go away after the delivery. So, and then now the newest thing is they have actually come up with and they have diagnosed type 3 diabetes of the brain, which is actually linked directly to Alzheimer's, dementia, ADD, ADHD in children and adults, Parkinson's, are all going to be linked to insulin resistance in your brain. So when you're insulin resistant, that means that your cells are starving for energy, but they can't use it. So they shut off the ability for insulin to actually allow glucose into your cells, and your cells are starving to death. So that's why you have the constant hunger and your body saying, I need more fuel, I need more fuel. But in reality, your cells are saying, no, I have too much inside me. I can't use what I have. I'm shutting it down. And that's when your blood sugar starts to rise, is when you get to that point.
So diabetes 1, isn't that genetic? I mean, that's what we hear all the time.
Well, no, let's back up on that one. Absolutely great question. Type 1 diabetes is, there is a genetic component just to all these types of diabetes. There is a genetic component, but genetics only rules about 5% of what actually happens. The environment controls whether or not those genes get turned on or turned off. From the research I have done on type 1 diabetes, they're looking at links to triggers that cause it. And they say that cow dairy is actually the #1 trigger and then it gets turned on usually by some type of infection that causes an overstimulation of the immune system that causes the trigger to actually turn on that type 1 gene. And this usually happens in childhood. When the pancreas gets damaged, etc., when the autoimmune system starts to attack. But triggers, again, you have a little bit of a genetic component, but there's usually other things that have to be in place environmentally for that to happen. So that's where type 1 is going to be something that could be avoided if they actually did genetic testing on children. They could find out who's susceptible and then actually do an intervention as far as getting kids off of cow dairy and limiting their gluten exposure and their toxic levels. Those are all things that contribute to flipping on that gene for type 1.
That's interesting. So you mentioned about blood sugar. So let's talk a bit about that.
Okay, well, so first off, let's talk about labs. So if let's go, sugar is, these are some of the myths that come in here. So according to Dr. Fung, who is a leading expert in diabetes and treatments, he says all this excess glucose in your body over the decades, actually everything in your body starts to rot. I thought that was a very interesting perspective because, of course, if you put sugar out on the counter with food, and it basically will start to ferment and rot. So I can see where that could happen in the body as well. The myth #1 is sugar is natural. No, actually processed sugar is processed. It's not natural. It's not something the body can deal with easily. And so natural sugars are not so much the problem. It's the unnatural processed sugars. Even the gluten flour, your wheat flour, your rice flour, those things are like 100% glucose sugar. There's more glucose in a serving of wheat flour than there is in a candy bar. So it's going to really spike your blood sugar when you eat that. But here's where some of the problem comes in with Western medicine, because they keep adjusting what's normal blood sugar for people, because what they consider normal is what's average in the population. But since we have a 50% diabetic and pre-diabetic population, they're estimating the average blood sugar to be normal to be way too high. So here's optimal blood sugar levels here in this slide, where you want to be between 72 and 85 after a 4 or more hour fast, which means when you go to get your blood done, at the doctor's or the lab or whatever, first thing in the morning before you've eaten or drank anything other than water, you want to be in that range. When you get, and you want to be 100 to 120 after meals. If it spikes higher than that, you've got a problem. So fasting blood sugars over 90 are considered pre-diabetic. And when you get to 125 or higher, then you are classified as a diabetic. Now, I can tell you for myself, I watched my blood sugar climb year after year in my blood work, and I kept asking the doctor, why is this happening? Why is it happening? What can I do? I don't want to become a diabetic. Please help me. And they said, there's nothing you can do. Fix your diet. And without any guidance on what that is. And I'm like, I have a degree in nutrition. I know I'm eating the right way for what I was taught anyway. And that, they said, oh, well, you must be a closet junk food junkie for your blood sugar to be that high. And I'm like, no. So it's amazing where that goes. So I did become a diabetic, and I finally said, I went to my doctor and said, okay, now what do I do? Because you wouldn't help me before then. Now what do you got? And they said, oh, well, we can put you on drugs. I'm like, drugs? How's that going to help? That's not going to cure the problem. That's just going to treat a symptom. They're like, well, that's all we have is just management for the rest of your year. The rest of your years, you're going to be on drugs. And I'm like, no. So it's like, okay, fine. I need to jump into all the research. I need to figure this out myself. And I did. Next thing on your blood work is your hemoglobin A1C. And what this is this is a 60 to 90 day average of your blood sugar. And the optimal range is between 5.0 and 5.4. 5.5 or higher is considered to be on the pre-diabetic range. When you hit 6.0 or more, you are considered a diabetic. And the reason that this is important is because what this measures is the amount of sugar that has crystallized on your blood cells that actually lowers their function for you to be able to carry oxygen, et cetera. And also the crystals on the outside of the blood cells, actually, as they pass through your blood, they cause tiny little cuts in your blood vessels that causes inflammation, increases your cholesterol production, trying to patch the wounds, et cetera, causes your blood pressure to go up, and all sorts of other things that can be linked to that too high, too much blood sugar, or sugar crystallizing on your blood cells. So A1C is a very important diagnostic tool to see what your blood sugar is doing up and down as you eat over time. Because fasting only shows that you're recovering, but how bad is it when you eat something that has carbs in it? How high does it go will show up in your A1C.
So how often would you recommend that people get their A1C done?
Well, actually, if it's rising, just like your blood sugar is rising, immediately start interventions for yourself, and then getting your blood work done at a lab can be done up to every 90 days to see how you're doing, to see how your interventions are working. Or you can just, for $20, you can buy a blood sugar monitor at your local pharmacy and test your blood whenever you want. So you could do it every day. You can do it after meals, before meals, see how your body's responding. If you're a diabetic, you can actually get you can get a constant glucose monitor that attaches to your arm so that you can actually use a phone app where you can actually test it constantly throughout the day, so you know exactly how your body is responding to the food you eat, so that you can actually, like one couple that I follow on YouTube, they actually, it's a husband and wife, and they tested each other after drinking bone broth. And the female, she stayed in ketosis, and it did not stimulate her production did not rise her blood sugar or her blood sugar. But her husband, who has a different metabolism and has more insulin resistance problems, his blood sugar went up from bone broth, something that you wouldn't expect. So they knew that, for him, that he needed to be closely monitoring what he was eating, because something you may not suspect is going to drive up your blood sugar could. And stress, anything you eat that your body has a sensitivity to, causes a stress response, which increases your blood sugar as well. So you can figure out what foods are causing you problems by getting a constant monitoring or testing yourself before and after every meal.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So let's elaborate. You were going to elaborate a little bit more on the blood sugar, the causes, and the lab testing.
Okay, so yes, first thing I want to make sure that your people, that we all understand is, they say that diabetes is a lifestyle disease. I'm going to come forward right now and say, no, it's not your fault. Okay, they tell you it's your fault, it's your behaviors, it's what you're eating. No, actually, it's miseducation for decades of the 50-year food pyramid that we were told to eat high grains. We're supposed to be eating 6 to 10 servings of grain a day. Are you insane? No. That is like, I even when I was going through my dietetics program, it was like, I can't eat that much without sending my calories through the roof and gaining weight. There's no way. And so it was like, something's got to be wrong with this. But I went through and okay, fine. Maybe for most people that works. Maybe I'm unique. And I had no idea that actually the food pyramid was completely wrong. And now the new food pyramid has completely flipped over, so that now grains are on the top in the small portion, and all of your leafy greens and your vegetables and your fruits are on the bottom. So you're talking about your low glycemic foods, your high nutrition density foods are on the bottom of the pyramid, and your grains are now on the top as what a healthy diet should look like. And so it's definitely has been a problem here, as far as we're all misinformed. We've been lied to for decades. The food pyramid of the past 50 years failed miserably and put us all into sugar overload because of all the grains they recommended. It was faulty science that has been disproved since. So that's at the core of the education issue that needs to be addressed for everybody in the world. But as far as the list here you have up here, yes, genetics and epigenetics will play a part. Epigenetics is going to be your environmental factors that turn on and off those genes. So even if you have the genetics to be predisposed for diabetes, that doesn't mean you're going to get it, and that doesn't mean you can't control it and reverse it, because epigenetics is the bigger portion of that, which is the environment, which includes everything you eat, everything you drink, everything you breathe, every thought you have is all linked into the environment that you are existing in, that you are creating for your health in yourself. Another one here that most people haven't really looked at is antibiotics. Now, antibiotics kill bacteria, but the mitochondria inside all your cells that makes your energy from the food you eat are considered to be ancient bacteria. So when you take antibiotics, you damage them. And if they're damaged, they can't work properly. So the progression of getting diabetes starts with mitochondrial dysfunction due to contamination, and then moves into metabolic syndrome, where you start having issues with producing enough energy, and then moves into insulin resistance, and then moves on to diabetes. So you have to go further upstream to find the problem to actually get back to where you want to go. And there are things you can do to help heal your mitochondria so that they are able to recover their energy production. And of course, there are also different medications that can actually have a detrimental effect on your blood sugar, as well as your mitochondria, your gut health, etc., which is responsible for regulating part of your blood sugar is in your gut, which is, again, all health starts in the gut, so you can actually heal your gut and heal some of your issues. Bad industrial oils. We were told way back when all of 50-year food pyramid, that fats were bad for us. And so they came up with things like margarine and partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, and all of these industrial seed oils like safflower and sunflower and peanut oil, and all these other things that are actually seen by the body as toxins. And it causes an immune response, which then again causes inflammation throughout the body. Packaged food and hidden sugars, again, it all depends on where you are, but most people don't realize they put sugar into things like pasta sauce.
I would never guessed it. Pasta sauce.
I know, but yeah, actually, I mean, if I buy organic pasta sauce at the store, and I look through the ingredient list, and many of them have sugar in there, and the carb levels on the labels is rather high. And so you have to learn to read labels. You have to understand all the different names for sugar. There's like 50 of them. Anything that ends in OUS is technically a sugar. So you have to be aware and learn and educate yourself on how to read the ingredient list and what to look for, and to look at how many carbs something has. And if it's more than 2 or 3, put it back, find something else. So, okay, now, microbiome, again, all health starts in the gut. So basically, when we take, like, bringing back to antibiotics, it kills off not only the bacteria that's causing you an infection, but it kills off all of your good bacteria, many of which are responsible for regulating your blood sugar. So if you kill them, they can't do it. So you have to do a gut healing protocol, and you have to do a reinoculation of good bacteria into your system to be able to get your blood sugar maintenance, and to get all of the vitamins, minerals, everything else that goes on in your microbiome, produces most of your neurotransmitters for your brain that make you feel good. Those are produced by the bacteria in your gut. And if you've killed them all off, you're having issues. Now, the next thing on the list here is heavy metals. Now, heavy metals are ubiquitous in our environment. They're in our air, they're in our water, they're in our soil, they're in our food. And unfortunately, they have just recently discovered that a woman's heavy metal load and toxic load, from whether it be heavy metals or other things such as pesticides, etc., they actually move through the placental barrier and preload children at birth. And at the last test that I saw, it was over 250 different chemical toxins, including heavy metals, found in umbilical cord blood of those being born in the last 5 years.
Oh my God.
It's an issue. So we have to be more aware of our toxic load. We have to do things to be able to detox our heavy metals. And again, your microbiome actually has bacteria, normal bacteria present, that actually detox heavy metals out of our system so that we can get rid of them and eliminate them. Others go to your liver, and your liver neutralizes and detoxes them, and then sends them out in bile, which goes into your digestive system so you can poop them out. So again, the liver playing a huge role for diabetics as well, because your liver is responsible for converting excess sugar into fat. And that's how you get fatty liver, clogs up your liver. It can't detox. You get more toxins. Your liver pushes those toxins into your fat cells and keeps you from losing fat, because it doesn't want the toxins to come back into your body where it can't handle them. So detoxing your liver and supporting your liver is a major function in your dietetic program as well. So it's very missed by most of your other diabetic specialists. Mycotoxins. Now, here's a big one too. Because of our high grain diets, yeast such as Candida and other types of molds have found a nice, sweet, warm environment to grow in our bodies. And so that is a huge issue that also needs to be looked at, is whether or not the person has possible mold or Candida overgrowth, which is causing havoc with all sorts of things, as far as it goes after your thyroid, it goes after your brain, causing brain fog, it messes with your hormones. There's so many things that when we get mycotoxins, and this is why part of the reason why peanuts are a problem, because they're very high in mold. And this is why a lot of people, they don't actually have a reaction to the peanuts, it's actually the mold on the peanuts. So this is why, and they use the moldiest peanuts for peanut butter. So this is why a lot of times kids and adults have an issue with peanuts. Coffee is another big moldy thing. You can buy certified mold-free coffee, or my trick that I've learned, if you put MCT oil is a natural mold neutralizer and the mycotoxin neutralizers. And so I put MCT oil into my coffee. So that neutralizes all of the mycotoxins that are going to be in, even though I'm doing organic coffee, that doesn't take down the possibility of mold. So adding the MCT oil actually destroys it as I'm drinking it. So that's, again, another hack for how to get past that. Nutritional deficiencies is actually kind of high on the list because, again, if you've killed off your microbiome using drugs or antibiotics, etc., those microbes are in your gut are actually responsible for processing a lot of your food. They help with your digestion. And if your gut is damaged, you can't absorb your nutrition. And without, they call them essential nutrients as far as vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids, because they are required for every process in your body. So if you are nutrient deficient, then your body can't do the process of making energy, can't do the process of detoxing your body, can't do the process of eliminating toxins. And so if your gut is damaged, you have nutritional deficiencies, and it just perpetuates the cycle, keeping you locked in. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed as far as nutritional deficiencies go. A high density green diet or a colorful diet is very important. Possibly adding in some of the things listed here on the screen can be huge as far as reversing diabetes. Now, the next thing on here, of course, is an DHEA deficiency, which is actually one of the precursors for many of your hormones, as well as NAC. And these are your sex hormones and other hormones in your body that cause signaling throughout your body, telling your body what to do, and as well as your thyroid. Again, your thyroid controls your metabolism, how well you burn your food. And so if you have issues with your thyroid, for example, heavy metals like fluoride in our water actually competes for the thiodine in your thyroid, causing it to dysfunction. And so getting fluoride out of your water may make huge differences in your body's ability to recover its metabolism and for you to be able to burn the food energy that you eat. Again, here, then it comes down to, just like I was saying, bad water. You have fluoride issues. Plastics is becoming a big one. Basically, most people don't realize, oh, I'm buying filtered water in bottles. Well, actually, most people don't realize that that soft plastic is very soluble. And what they do is after they put the water in the bottle, they sterilize it, pasteurize it in the bottle, causing the plastic to dissolve into the water, contaminating it. And those plastics are xenoestrogens and all sorts of things that actually are toxic to the body, that cause issues, that interrupt normal pathways, and can be a huge factor. So again, that is something that needs to be addressed. Plus, in bad water, if you actually have your water tested, most municipalities, most water districts test their water, and they know that because they're using recycled, reclaimed water, people who are peeing out their drugs, their medications, that doesn't get filtered out of the water they send back to us. And so we're all getting, our water is high in antibiotics, and it's high in other medications like Prozac. It's all in the water, as well as the fluoride, the chlorine, all these other things that disrupt the body, and you're getting low dose of these medications all the time, which are disrupting your microbiome and causing all sorts of havoc in the body. So the best thing is to do reverse osmosis water. You can get that either as a home unit installed in your house, kind of pricey. Many water stores sell the big giant 5-gallon jugs of reverse osmosis water, or you can have just a filtration system put into just your kitchen sink and use that to refill water bottles and do it with all your cooking and stuff. I have a countertop gravity filter that actually pulls out everything, including fluoride, chlorine, all the meds, all the spores, all the mold, all the meds, everything gets pulled out. And I do that for all my drinking water and all my cooking water, so that I'm getting that out of the main place and it's very cost effective. It's paid for itself over and over again, from having me to buy my water from other places. So all of these things cause cravings, and other things that need to be addressed. So yes, cleaning up all of your environment is huge on where you can go with this.
That's actually very insightful. I didn't even know all these things. I just drink water from the tap, hoping that.
Well, now you know. That's education is power. Education is power.
Yes. So let's talk about a little bit short on time. So let's talk about the fats.
I think I just lost you.
No, I'm here.
Anyway, I'll keep going, hoping that people are still there.
I'm here.
Anyway,
I'm here.
Most people don't realize that they have multiple conditions. And when I look at all their blood work and do their intake forms, I find
I'm sorry, I think we lost Jackie. We'll wait for a minute and see if she comes back. Otherwise, we might have to reschedule. Jackie, we cannot hear you. Can you come back, please?
working on it.
Okay, no worries.
All right, I think I'm back. Woohoo!
All right, so
good recovery. Yes, you could probably, well, we can edit that out in the final version. Anyway, all right, so let's see here. We were on starting facts, I guess. So, all right, so fact. Low fat is dangerous. I'm sorry, but you need fat. There are essential fatty acids in the recommendations. So everybody knows we need fat. Without fat, you can't have proper brain function. Most 70 or 80% of your brain is made out of fat and cholesterol. Your every cell membrane of your 50 trillion cells is all have fat in them. Your hormones are fat based. Without fat, you can't make stuff. So your bile doesn't move, your toxins get reabsorbed. I mean, there's just no, low fat is out. That's a myth, it's gone. Eating constantly, oh my gosh, this is part of the problem with current registered dietitians that are old school that aren't keeping up with the current research. They tell people to eat 5, 6 small meals a day. No. Your pancreas can never have a chance to relax, shut down, do healing. Your blood sugar never goes back down. You end up with it staying up all day long, and that is not good for your body. It needs to be able to start regulating itself up and down. So eating constantly is the worst thing you can do if you have any kind of diabetes. Glucose intolerance disorder. I had diabetes, and this is basically where I was, where every time I would eat any type of, even like rice flour, my blood sugar would shoot up like 300. I mean, I was so good at absorbing sugar that my blood sugar would go through the roof, and my insulin resistance would prevent it from getting into my cells, and I would have hours of really high blood glucose. So this is what they call glucose intolerant. It's almost like an allergy, but again, You can either take drugs for the symptoms, or you can avoid what's causing your allergies. I mean, it's really that simple. So I am still a low carb keto person, even though I've been diabetes reversed for like 4 years now. And my blood sugar is perfectly normal, and I get to eat pretty much all that I want of the proper foods that don't spike my blood sugar. All right, so again, big issue here. You have essential vitamins, minerals, amino acid proteins, and essential fatty acids from fats. There are no essential carbs. Your body can completely run on fat. They keep trying to tell you, oh, you have to have carbs in your diet. No, you don't. You'll get some carbs no matter what you eat, because there's a little bit of carbs even in meat and fish, etc. Most of your leafy greens have some carbs in them. So those are okay. You're going to get some. It's impossible to eliminate all your carbs, but all the bread, pasta, fries, oats, sugar, rice, beans, fruit, it all ends up as sugar, and can cause spikes and cause all sorts of dysfunction if you're eating gluten. The lower your carbs, the lower your insulin needs, the less work your pancreas has to do, the more recovery it can be, the more insulin sensitive you become. You can recover your sensitivity and recover everything in your life down the road if you opt for doing something about your carbohydrate load as well. So definitely the right direction. So signs and symptoms, again, of insulin resistance. Now, there's a wonderful graphic here that I want people to look at, because they're showing a comparison here of people on different diets and monitoring what happened to their blood work, as far as putting them ultimately in the pink. There is the low carbohydrate diet and what it did. They lost the most weight. They had the best A1C. They had the best drop in their glucose levels. They had a little bit higher LDL, but that's okay, because some LDL is actually good for you. But it also had improvements in many of the other things that are triglycerides, and HDL went up. Your good cholesterol went up, outnumbering your bad LDL, so to speak, bad, whatever you want to call that. But so, yes, that was the best diet for actually correcting even heart disease, is to actually limit your carbohydrates. So how do you know you have insulin resistance? Again, from the first video, or the first slide, if you have large amounts of belly fat, that's the sagging stuff. So if you have low energy and you're fatigued all the time, big one here, if you're hungry even after meals. If you feel like, God, I'm really full, but oh my gosh, I really need something else. That's either a nutritional deficiency that wasn't met by the food you ate, or your insulin resistance, because your body's being told energy is on the way, but your cells are going, I can't get it. So that's insulin resistance. Your afternoon slump, everybody feels like they need a snack, or they need 3 o'clock coffee because they're feeling that slump. That's insulin resistance. When I switched over to a dairy-free keto diet, I forget to eat because I'm not hungry. I have to make myself get nutrition to be able to get all my vitamins and minerals from food and such. And it's like, wow. I mean, but before I was like eating all the time and hungry all the time, and it consumed every thought of my day. Now I forget. It's so much fun that it's not ruling my life anymore. Brain fog, again, can be associated with all sorts of other things, fibromyalgia, thyroid issue, adrenal fatigue, depression, chronic fatigue. Those are all things that can be linked to insulin resistance. So again, it's not because you're getting older. It's not to be dismissed. Don't let doctors tell you there's nothing wrong with you. If it's not normal for you, it's not normal. But again, I started showing symptoms of problems when I was 12 years old. I had no idea what normal felt like. I had no idea what good felt like until I reversed all of these chronic conditions. And I feel better now than I have since I was in high school. I
That's
mean, it's
incredible.
just amazing what can do it. So let's talk about the rest of the fix here. So success for low carb diets, from diabetes, metabolic syndrome, they're all documented, they're evidence-based. There's lots of stuff in the nutritional journal showing this. Insulin, the glucose uptake fat storage hormone, just so people understand what insulin is. Excess causes inflammation and havoc. And basically, if you're a diabetic, you may have too much insulin, because if the sugar is not getting into your cells, your pancreas pumps out more and more insulin, and it causes more and more damage. This is why a lot of times, so people who are insulin injecting, you're caught in a catch-22. You really need to do something about getting your diet. So now there is one camp of researcher that says too many carbs, too much insulin, and cells become insulin resistant. The other camp says too much fuel inside the cells, not being burned, meaning not enough exercise to burn it off, becomes toxic to the cells. So the cell shuts down the insulin receptors to not allow any more glucose into the cells, rejecting it, and then your blood becomes toxic to your body, and then your liver has to try to put that sugar away, turns it into fats, trying to get your blood sugar down to homeostasis maintenance. They're both a whole vicious cycle and still have the same causes, with excess fuel not being burned, mitochondrial dysfunction, metabolic syndrome, the inability to be able to burn whatever energy you have due to damaged mitochondria, blood sugar dysregulation, etc. So example now, carbs. A lot of people don't understand what carbs are. Anything with glucose in them, that means white sugar, brown sugar, that means agave syrup, that means honey, that means maple syrup, that means wheat, that means bread, that means pasta. All those things are just pure sugar. Okay, and all of it requires insulin to help it get into the cells. So the main thing here is that people need to recognize that fat is actually insulin neutral, which means that it can get into your cells, into your mitochondria, and burned as energy, as high octane fuel rather than dirty glucose, which takes huge amounts of processing, vitamins, minerals, etc., just to turn it in. It's a problem. So basically, fat is the preferred fuel of your body and your brain. All right, so other places they can go to get more information if they want to do the research themselves. There are several really good books that attach all of this. There's Eat Fat, Get Thin. There is Fat as Fuel. Both of them talk about using a nutrient-dense paleo keto type approach, because fat is insulin neutral. The brain actually works better on ketones, which is actually the fat-derived energy source. And again, the Harvard Diabetes Center, where you go when you want to get your diabetes under control, you can go there and pay huge amounts of money for them to feed you and monitor you and etc. But they're using this ketogenic, high-fat, low-carb diet to treat and reverse, and they're documenting the number of people that come out of their programs that are completely off of all their meds, and their blood sugar is completely back to normal when they leave. So it's learning new basic lifestyles and eating habits and behaviors that can actually do this. So it's all there. So once you're stabilized with your optimum blood sugar levels, the highs and lows, the cravings, the withdrawals, all that stuff goes away. I can attest to that. So gluten, grains, dairy, sugar-free, don't do artificial sweeteners, people. Stevia is okay. Get rid of all the bad oils, stick to your avocado oils, your MCT oils, your coconut oils, your extra virgin olive oils. Those are your good oils that you want to use for cooking and baking with. All the processed foods, anything that comes in a package, anything that comes in a bag, you might want to reconsider that process. And of course, it does mean you're going to probably need to have to cook. I do have several male single bachelor clients who I had to go above and beyond for to try to guide them into where to get foods that they don't have to cook so that they can actually do the diet. But it is possible, just like it's possible to actually do the diet as a vegan as well. There's another book I didn't put on here for those vegans. It's called Ketotarian, which is how to do a ketogenic as a vegetarian or as a vegan. That's another good book that people can use to get back on. And again, people might be asking, well, I heard a vegan diet will help reverse type 2 diabetes. Only if you eliminate all the processed foods. There's junk vegan and there's healthy vegan, just like anything else. So if you can eat all the pasta and donuts you want that are vegan, they're not going to be healthy. So you can do it right, you can do it wrong. All right, so once you stabilize everything, your insulin receptors will resensitize, reducing your insulin needs, keeping your blood sugar at optimal levels, improve your immune function. Again, in today's situation, that's the important to get rid of the comorbidity for that. Reduces inflammation everywhere in your body, optimizes your fat burning capabilities so that you can minimize your stress hormones like cortisol, improve your sleep, tame any candida or other infections. All of this is called the healing sweet spot. So once you get there, your body starts to actually reverse everything. So I had eczema, allergies, arthritis, fatty liver, chronic fatigue. I mean, I had systemic candida overgrowth, didn't know that for decades, from too many carbs. And so all of that stuff can reverse out. Removing everything can go when you change your diet and your body gets into the healing sweet spot so that it can actually take care of all the things going on in your body at once. So it's very good. Now, mention here leaky gut. It's called permeability, intestinal permeability. This is when the contents of your intestines can leak into your bloodstream where it's not supposed to be. That can cause an immune response that actually can stimulate overimmune reactions and can lead to autoimmune conditions down the road, which of course, diabetes, since it can turn into type 1, type 2 is on the spectrum, along with many other things. So a lot of people argue what came first, the chicken or the egg, when it comes to leaky gut, but there is a direct link that if you have chronic conditions, you have leaky gut. If you have leaky gut, you are going to or in the process of getting chronic conditions that will turn into autoimmune conditions if left untreated. So have to listen to your body. It's trying to tell you it needs help, and you have to help it get back to where it wants to be in full vitality, full health, everything.
All right, that was a lot of information and a lot of useful information, which I personally didn't have any clue about, but thank you so much. So let's talk about supplements.
Well, and I'll start off by saying that at one point in my career, since I thought I was eating healthy, I thought that doing green medications was the best thing for me to do. And so I started doing these things. And only to find that it worked only temporarily, and that it wasn't until I changed my diet that was I actually able to do anything. So there is no magic pill. There is no magic pill. Now, the main thing here, Jamina, this is one that I have sent out to any of my type 1 diabetics who have contacted me about programs to let them know that there is research out there. Jamina sylvestre actually has clinical evidence showing that it will heal the pancreas. It will regenerate the beta cells in the pancreas to start producing insulin again. So that's something that's great to know for that one. But again, if you are a type 2, you might be in the need of doing Jamina just because you may be working towards that if you've had it for a long time. Berberine has actually outperformed metformin in side-by-side clinical trials. And so all the side effects and everything else that goes with metformin, you could actually slowly replace with your doctor's acknowledgement, permission, guidance, everything else start weaning yourself off of, or he can help you wean yourself off of metformin with berberine as a replacement. Now, things you can do every day: turmeric, curcumin, does all sorts of wonderful things to start clearing the body out of inflammation that can be contributing to your issue. Chromium is a great energy feed. It actually increases your insulin sensitivity, so on and so forth. Again, many supplements, even it is a part of the B family of vitamins. Chromium, biotin, these are all considered essential nutrients or nutritionals that need to be in your body. So you may not be getting enough of them in your food, and so supplementation may be the turning point for those that are struggling who've done everything else. Bitter melon, again, is another supplement. Omega-3s, it's really hard to eat enough fish and to take enough flaxseed or chia seeds and other things to get the omega-3s necessary for the inflammatory cascade in your body. I do recommend, and I'd say omega-3s here because I am not a fan of fish oil. Okay, krill is a better source. Calamari is a better source, that's squid, and you can get algae forms of omega-3s. Because fish oils are highly processed, they actually start to go rancid very quickly. Sometimes those bottles that you see at the store have been sitting there for a year and they're not going to help you. So you need to get a good brand, shop your good brands. I'll just say, I'm not an affiliate, but I like drsinatra.com. Okay, so ALA, again, it is a essential fatty acid that we may not be getting enough of in this low fat craze thing. It has a lot of help for everything that you need for energy and carb metabolism, for the little bit of carbs you may still be eating. And it's good for neuropathy. So those of you who are diabetics who are having neuropathy pain, this may be a good supplement. And you can buy most of these things, almost all these things can be combined into one supplement. So you only have to take a couple of capsules a day, not all these bottles separately. So you can find those. So anyway, and Vinaldil is actually something that is kind of new. I haven't done any testing for myself or with my clients with it, but I figure you can look it up and see if it's something that you might be interested in trying. I have no idea. The research says that it works, but I don't have any personal experience with this last one.
So foods, let's jump to the foods.
Oh yes. Now I am a big advocate of smoothies, and I'm not big on eating salads. Okay. Everybody's going to go, oh, because you know what? I do my salads in my smoothies. There's a good one for you. All right. So, you can buy a wonderful greens mix powder that has been fermented and organic, and it will have many of these things in it, and you just do a big scoop in water or a smoothie every day and you will get all these things, but maybe not in the dosages that the research says will help with your diabetes by itself, but it is always helpful. So spirulina, chlorella, those are two types of algae. One is saltwater based, the other is freshwater based. Cinnamon extracts and oils. I like putting cinnamon oil into my coffee every morning. I love it. It tastes great. I put it into my smoothies as well and in my tea. Ginger, powdered fresh oil, any way you can get in ginger. You can buy it in capsule forms. You could buy it as a powder. You could scoop into your smoothies. I like ginger juice. I actually make my own salad dressings, and I use the ginger juice with those for when I do make salads. What else? So coconut, MCT, avocado, Evo, that's your extra virgin olive oil. Those are all the different good types of fats you can put in. Flaxseed has all sorts of good things besides the minimal amount of omegas in them. So I put flax seeds into my smoothie along with my 3 cups of greens mix salad. And I put in beets and cucumbers and celery and all these other things and applesauce and all sorts of things into my smoothies, along with my greens mix powder. I mean, and broccoli sprouts. Those are all things I put into my, along with collagen protein powder. I saw that. Anyway, so those are all things that you can do. Apple cider vinegar, the raw stuff, you can put a tablespoon into a cup of water and drink it before meals to increase your insulin sensitivity as you eat. You can put it in your tea. Any way you can get that into your body. It's alkalizing. It's absolutely fabulous. And it's a probiotic, so it actually repopulates your gut. Green tea extract. You can do green tea extract. You can buy the tea in a powder, not in, you don't want to buy the loose stuff. You don't want to buy the, I do matcha green tea. I think it's the best. It has the highest nutritional composition there for your polyphenols is matcha green tea powder. You want to get the pure stuff and then make tea with it. Or you could, again, add it into a smoothie or anything else. I see it in ice cream. Sometimes people make ice cream with it. You can buy it that way, but not recommending regular ice cream with sugar and dairy. You can buy sugar-free coconut milk ice cream. It's fabulous. Anyway, so other ideas. So yeah, I got huge amounts of hacks that people can do to get on the path. Plug those 36 holes until you find where the hole is that actually makes a difference. So you just go through and every week, add something new until it's gone.
That's incredible story and so much information, so much helpful information. That it's awesome. It's really awesome. I think we need to have multiple sessions on different topics so that moving forward in the coming weeks. So I want to actually, I know it's July 3rd. I don't know if there are any questions. I want to open it up. We have a couple of attendees, few attendees here before we close it off. So I'll just take a moment. Anything? Well, I don't see any questions. I think there's so much information that you've given us. We need time to assimilate all the questions.
Oh, I know it can be overwhelming, but again, it comes down to just pick one thing a week that you can do. Pick one thing and do it well. And then the following week, okay, now that I've gotten the wheat out of my diet, now I'm going to go after the dairy, or now I'm going to add in a new omega, or now I'm going to add in some cinnamon, and just every week do something new. But again, if you want a program and you want to get it done quickly, you can see huge results in like 30 days. But if you want to take it slow and do it over time, you can follow each thing and do little by little and watch yourself improve until you hit that sweet spot, and then everything goes all at once very quickly. I lost 90 pounds. Okay. It took me about a year to reverse all my symptoms, but to reverse everything. But I had huge issues. Like I said, my chronic kidney disease is what was taking me down. They told me I had about 2 years until dialysis, and then 5 years maximum life on dialysis before my kidneys failed and I either got a transplant or I died. And of course I have full kidney fungus. I have reversed it all. Fatty liver is gone. My enzymes for my liver are at full capacity. It's absolutely fabulous, but it took me about a year to do it all because I did it step by step, little by little. It can be done. Harvard and other places that do quick programs usually take 30 to 60 days to get results, to get people back to normal and off their meds. I've had clients who have done it in 60 days as well. It's all possible. So it's, hopefully we can get this going and get more people to get themselves out of that category, take back their life. And this is the step. This is the education. So very nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think you have an incredible personal story. We will be bringing you back. Maybe one day you can just talk about your personal story, and that will resonate with a lot of people. So I want to thank you coming here. Well, it's a July 4th weekend. Please let us know, whoever is listening to our show today, with all your feedback, all your ideas and your questions. If you have it, please let us know. Jackie will be starting her consultations with NourishDoc and offering the programs pretty soon. So I want to thank Jackie and wish everyone a happy July 4th. Thank you so much, Jackie, for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for helping spread the word. This is fabulous. And I'm, 100 million people, that's where we need to go. So let's do it. So thank you.
We will be picking up topics and bringing back. Thank you so much, and have a good July 4th.
Woo. See you soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.